Today's verse of the day, Luke chapter 12, verse 15. Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. The devil's gonna do everything in his power to remove the blessing that God has in place for you to be wealthy, for you and your family to be wealthy, all due to greed and envy. Don't allow the devil to interfere with what God has planned for you. Stick to your plan. Stay consistent with your approach. Don't be greedy. And I promise you, you will get the results that God has intended for you. Only if you stay focused and stay disciplined. You cannot allow the devil to interfere with what God has planned for you, because he will do everything in his power to take everything away from you by you simply consuming greed and envy. Avoid those two habits, and I promise you, you will get the end result that God has intended for you. With that being said, let's get to the charts. All right, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Here we have the Monday charts loaded up on the QQQ chart, ticker symbol QQQ. Here we have the 5-minute time frame loaded up. So going into Monday, we had some initial weakness coming into the market, failing this 570 level here. We saw some rejections come in right off that 70.9 to 571 level. As we saw some failure kick in, we then formed our orb level. Once we formed our orb level, we looked to take a position on a continuation to the downside. And so we were taking pretty much scalps around this zone below the orb low. And we waited for a proper retest of the orb low. And then once we got confirmation here around 9:15, we took a position using this candle high above the orb low as a stop loss. We then caught a quick push all the way back down to the 565.8 range, taking full profits there and being done for the day. That was our session overall on Monday. And so we had a really good trade on that move. We did see a lot lower that day, but I was done trading by this time. It closed out the day right around, from the looks of it, 562.49. So that was our session that we had on Monday. Let's move on to Tuesday and talk about what trades we took on Tuesday. All right, you guys, here we have the Tuesday chart loaded up once again on QQQ. So going into Tuesday, we saw a little bit of a hold, initially holding above this 564 level. We then bounced off that level, forming an orb between 564 and 566. We got a break above our orb high, and we were able to push back into the previous day high levels, where we were then starting to see some rejections kick in. I took a few scalps initially going off of the rejection levels around here. So I made some money initially here and here. And then we took another entry after seeing another failure come in to the market around this time at 9:30. Once we tried to get above that high of the day, but we couldn't, I used that candle high as a stop loss, and I rode this move all the way back down into the orb high, where I then took full profits, but we did see a little bit lower. From there, we saw a reversal by the orb low and reclaimed the orb high once again, pushing back into that same range. A little bit later on in the day, we did end up breaking this range and pushing back above this 569 level, closing out the day closer to 570, looks to be 577. So we closed out the day around 577 and initially just ran for the rest of the day right after 11:30. So that was the day on Tuesday. Pretty crazy session after 11:30. Typically, I think what you start to notice as a pattern for these last few trading sessions and trading weeks, you see a lot of moves happen right around 11:30. After 11:30, a lot of times the move just goes a lot lower or goes a lot higher. That's what I've started to notice. So I probably will pay more attention to the afternoon session. I don't normally trade the afternoon session, but probably given that we're having so much more price action happen later in the day, I'll just be more mindful of it just to see if there's any opportunity, because it does continue to move a lot more even after that initial 9:30 to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock session. But yeah, that's the Tuesday chart. Let's move on to Wednesday and talk about what trades we took on Wednesday. Ladies and gents, here we have the Wednesday chart loaded up back on the QQQ chart, ticker symbol QQQ. 5-minute time frame. As you guys see here, we initially held that level going into the previous day of the 577, gapping up a little bit and actually opening up the day at around 581.48. From there, we formed an orb range where we were pretty range bound between our 8:30 open session all the way to about 10 o'clock. We started to break closer towards 10 o'clock, but before the break, we were just range bound between the orb and pretty much having a very tight session and just not really getting a lot of price action movement. So I ended up taking positions here off this retest of the orb high, wanting to see failure because we saw a little bit of wicks come in, numerous wicks coming prior to it, but numerous wicks starting to come in right as we approached the orb high. I wanted to see it fail and use that candle high as a stop loss. We did get a little bit of a failure, so I just used it as a scalp, took some profits off, and then we got stopped out of our runners as it ran higher. But later in the day, I do believe we saw a strong reversal come in after we finally got a failure below these lines here, which are the EMA lines. Once we filled those EMA lines, we had a very, very aggressive move to the downside, going back down into the orb high. But we held between the mid-range of the orb high and the orb low, pushing back above the orb high and closing out the day right at the orb high level of 583.90. So again, once again, you guys see here, right after 11 o'clock, around 12 o'clock actually, we saw a break of the orb or the EMA levels, I'm sorry, and we pushed down lower, so a lot more price action kicking in right after that 12 o'clock session time. We see some more failure come into the market. Prior to it, we had a lot of chop and just very, very grindy upward price action movement, which isn't bad if you caught the calls and you made money, but it just wasn't convincing enough to take calls on this position. So it wasn't really a clear trade in my opinion. But some people, they see this and they see opportunity, some people don't. It just depends on your perspective of the market, what you guys think of it, and as long as you have your risk in check, that's what matters the most. But we were able to make money nonetheless, and so that was our initial scalp for the day. So with that being said, we now finished the day on Wednesday and we moved on to Thursday. So let's talk about what we did on Thursday. Hey, what's going on, y'all? I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you guys are new, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Also, turn on the notification bell. And if you guys want to learn more about how to day trade, I have a free day trading course on my website at www.continuebelief.com. There you'll get all the information and resources needed to help you guys learn more on your journey to day trading. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get back to it. All right, you guys, here we have the QQQ chart loaded up once again on the Thursday chart. So as you guys see here, we had a little bit of a gap down going into the session, post-market session after Wednesday. Going into the pre-market of Thursday, we saw a opening candle of about 573.97 or 574. From there, we formed an orb level between the 575 level and the 572 level, where we then held the orb low, pushed back into the orb high, broke above the orb high, and we started to approach some levels of demand going into 9 o'clock. And so as we were approaching, we saw a little bit of opportunity on this retest here of the 578 level. And so I took a quick scalp off this level and I was able to make a quick return on my investment, taking full profits after just seeing this candle move lower and not really move with enough conviction. I just went in and took most profits off and I left a few runners and then we got stopped out of our remaining position. From there, I really wasn't too interested in this market because I did see the gap down and we had a gap fill to fill, and so that's what we ended up doing. I wanted to get it, but I didn't really see the opportunity to get it, and I was very busy that morning, so I didn't take any other opportunities in the market. But the gap fill did happen. As you guys see here, we reclaimed those previous levels on Wednesday that we were at. From there, we just held below the 586 level, and then pretty much was a very range-bound session from there. We didn't really see too much of anything after that due to it being the last day of the week for trading, given that Friday was a closed market because of Good Friday. That possibly is the reason why we saw such choppy price action after our initial move and reclaiming the 584 level. So from there, we just closed out the week at 585, and that was the session on Thursday. So overall, a good week. Had some really good execution in the market, really good risk management. That's the main thing. Like I said, you guys want to make sure you keep it in check. is your risk management. As long as you guys keep your risk management in check, you guys will be able to overcome any and every market, whether it's a volatile market, whether it's a choppy market, whatever the price action is, whatever kind of market you're facing, you will be able to maintain and handle your funds properly and still make money in the market. It's just about how well you manage your risk. That is the number one thing in this world, risk management and financial literacy. That's how you are able to continue to grow and make more money compared to losing money. So just keep that in mind as you guys are on your trading and investing journeys. But with that being said, let's move on to the 4-hour chart and look at SPY and see what we can expect to see happen going into next week. All right, ladies and gents, here we have the 4-hour chart loaded up on the SPY chart, ticker symbol SPY. So we had a pretty eventful week this previous week, going into the second quarter of the year, closing out the month of March. A lot of price action and a lot of movement. Starting out the week, we were seeing the lows of 632 all the way down to 629, but then we reversed and flipped back up into our Tuesday session and reclaimed the 649 level. From there, we pushed all the way back up to about 658.5, and then saw rejection off that level going into our Thursday session, but then reclaiming and closing out the week at 655.89. Like I said, pretty eventful week. Over a $20 move in the market. Very crazy price action. So what are the levels to watch going into the second week of April? The levels to watch, in my opinion, are going to be between 650 and 660. If we hold above 650, we can see a possible retest of 660. If we reclaim 660, we can see a pushback into 662. And if we push above 662, we can then get a push into the 666 range. If we reclaim 666, we can then see a retest of around 670. However, if we fail to hold above 650, I believe that we can see a retest of 646. If we fail 646, we can see a retest of 640. If we fail below 640, we can then push lower, going all the way down to 632 once more. If we fail 632 this time, I think that we will see lower, going down to about 626 to 627. So those will be the levels to watch going into this second week of April. You're going to watch between 650 and 660. Like I said, you guys want to be mindful of those levels, and those will be, that 650 level will be the level that dictates whether or not we go lower, because we're at a very interesting point right here where you guys are seeing a brick wall above the 660 level. We can't reclaim 660, we can see lower. As long as we're holding this 660 level, we can see lower. So that's my thought process on this SPY chart. Comment below your guys' thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Whether you think the market's going to go up or if you think the market's going to go down. Let me know your thoughts. But with that being said, that is today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Also turn on the notification bell if you guys are new. It's important that you stay focused. Remember your end goal. Remember why you're doing what you're doing. Stick to your principles, stick to your morals, be true to yourself, and don't let anyone derail you from what God has planned for you. It's your boy CB checking in with you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Also, make sure to tune in tomorrow for our Reach Off Gates podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching.